1. For those who don't know, the Amish don't use modern technology, but it varies by sect. Some have phones, some even drive cars. I know you can find some with faults, puppy mills are a problem, but most are the friendliest, kindest people you'd meet, even if you are English, as they call us. There's an Amish-owned bulk health food store near me, the kind of place where you can get things like 5-pound bags of good quality instant oats for 49 cents a pound, and all sorts of specialty flours, nuts, seeds, and so on. The family that owns it has no electricity. Lighting is skylights supplemented with propane lights when needed. Coolers run on propane, and so do the registers. Also, for various reasons, they don't take credit cards, and there are multiple signs, cash or check only, on the entry doors and around the registers. This is important later. So here I am on a major stocking up trip to the store, dressed in ripped jeans and a flannel shirt. I brought my mother so she can get a few things. In walks entitled Shopper, yes. And how she found this place that's on back roads in the middle of farm country, I don't know. In her defense, I had left my mother with my cart and my purse in a chair by a small shelf of cookbooks. And I was down on the floor moving bags of flour around looking for the largest size I can get. Excuse me, don't they have any coffee in here? And where are the dolls? Sorry, what? Coffee, where's the coffee, and why can't I find the dolls and those other homemade things? Well, coffee is 2 aisles down on your right, and they don't sell dolls or crafts here. What do you mean? Of course they do. That's how these people make their money, is all they know how to do. Now, show me where the coffee is, and we'll need to go get cups. I don't work here, I'm shopping like you, and this is a grocery store, not a tourist stop. They don't sell hot coffee or crafty things. This is when it gets weird, and I get a little angry. Of course you work here. You're stocking the shelves. Besides, these people always need someone like you around to help them. What? You know, someone who's not so... Waves hands like she's searching for the word. Backwards. Someone normal who actually lives in this century. Okay, so here is where I wanted to yell at this woman and tell her exactly where to stick her opinions. But I realize I can't because I really don't want any of the owners or actual employees to hear what she's saying about them. And I am extremely thankful no Amish shoppers have come down the aisle during this. Ma'am, this business is fully Amish owned and run, and I can promise you they're very capable. Probably better at it than you and I put together. They don't need or want anyone to interpret for them. I still don't work here though, and it sounds like this isn't the store for you, so maybe you should just move on and find some tourist trap to buy your crappy souvenirs at. I got lucky there. ES took a deep breath like she was gearing up for a major hissy fit, when my mother comes up with her half-full cart and says, "Didn't you find the flour yet? I'm done with the cookbooks and we need to be home by 2 p.m. I stand up and say, "Got it, Mom, found," I forgot exactly, but this many pounds and that many pounds, in separate bags. They don't seem to have one large bag, so this'll have to do. I lug the bags into the cart, say excuse me to entitled shopper, and hightail it to the next aisle. Very grateful she just stood there, apparently trying to figure out if she was wrong, and I was actually a shopper, or did I just bring my mommy to work with me? All I said to my mother was, "I'll tell you in the car." Not the most explosive story, no fights, no police involvement, just quietly try to put her in her place. But here's where some wonderful karma comes in. We were delayed checking out. When we asked about specialty salt, they only had small 1/4 and 1/2 pound bags on the shelf. But said a shipment had just come in and they'd pack us a larger bag if we didn't mind waiting. Here comes ES and her husband. Boyfriend? I guess they found their souvenirs, because everyone seems to buy these when they visit. They had a couple of shoe-fly pies, plus a loaf of fresh bread and 2 sodas from the cooler. ES tried to pay by credit card. The cashier said, "We don't take credit card, but I can hold your items if you need to go get cash." But I had the biggest shit-eating grin on my face hearing the so-called backwards Amish cashier tell her exactly where to find 2 nearby banks that had ATMs, the names of the banks and which one they recommended because the fees were lower if you weren't a customer. And I have to admit, I rubbed it in just a little. Just then they came back with my salt, and instead of just "thank you," I threw in, "You're always so helpful, I really appreciate shopping here and how you run your business." It sounded over the top, but I said it just a little more loudly than I needed to, and I'm pretty sure I saw ES twitch a bit. We had to leave then, so I don't know if she paid cash or just skipped the pies and drinks. 2. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone! Much like many other poor, unfortunate souls, I have the displeasure of working the week of Thanksgiving at our local regional grocery chain. It's been a rough week, but last night took the cake. It's 9:25 p.m. We're finally winding down from the horrific Thanksgiving Eve traffic, but still busy. A customer appears at the help desk and I go to greet her. She tells me she called earlier and that she was there to pick up a money transfer. I remember her call and I log in to help her. I take all her info and enter it into the computer before I get to the ID entry. Now, the money transfer service we use is very easy to use. To pick up money, you just need the transfer code and a valid, in-date form of ID. I start to enter her ID and suddenly spot the expiration date. I'm sorry, ma'am, but your driver's license is expired. I should have seen this earlier. She is immediately distressed at this.
It just expired last month, can't you just use it?
I try and explain to her that we have very strict guidelines and I cannot under any circumstances accept an expired form of ID. She then proceeds to tell me that she had absolutely no money and this is the only thing she has and doesn't have enough gas to get home. And I really need to just do it because she needs it. I calmly tell her that she can call the person that sent it to her and ask them to go back to the location they sent the money from and ask them to change it to not require an ID, which is easy and will fix her issue. After some more repetitive frustration, she finally calls. Enter her niece. She explains the situation to her niece and they go back and forth briefly, before I am inevitably handed the phone. I politely explain exactly what her niece will need to do to fix this. I am immediately met with a condescending attitude from her niece.
Hi there, the geeky musician. Yeah, you seem to be mistaken. I sent this money using my phone. I did not go to an agent.
I suddenly realize I'm in for a rough ride. Is there an option to edit transactions on the mobile app? I'm not 100% familiar with the app. I don't know how to use the app as we are only trained in the point of sale itself. As soon as I finish my sentences, they answer,
No, there is not an option.
I then politely explain that they will have to go to the physical location to change the transaction.
Karen mode activate.
I'm sorry, what was your name again, the geeky musician? Yeah, this isn't gonna work. My aunt is having a very hard time right now, and I'm gonna need you to pay this money out.
I then reiterate myself explaining what they have to do.
Alright, the geeky musician, what location are you at? Yeah. This has left a very bad taste in my mouth, and I am extremely disappointed with this. I can assure you, I am going to get this dealt with, because I know how to get this done. Hand the phone back to my aunt.
By now, I am 100% done with this situation. The woman talks to her niece on the phone briefly, then hangs up. I let her know that as soon as she gets an update to let me know. And I go to try and get the mountain of stuff I have left to do done before the store closes in 20 minutes. As I was getting some stuff done, I called my manager to the front just to bring him up to speed with the current situation in the event it escalates, which I felt it would. Unfortunately, he takes it a step further and just goes straight to the woman and asks her about the situation. She explains it to him, and he repeats the same thing I told both her and the niece about a dozen times now. She tells us both that she is desperate for the money and that she'll just have to sleep in the parking lot then. My manager and I both apologize and go back to closing duties. Shortly after, I walk by her and realize she's on the phone again. I decide to sit by the help desk as I'm sure she'd want to speak to me soon. She goes back and forth with her niece again before handing the phone back to me once again.
Hi there, yeah. All of the locations near me that service money transfers have closed at 9. I really need you to go ahead and pay this out for her. My grandmother recently died, and it really has taken a toll on her, and she needs this money. I'd like to make it very clear to you who I am, and I can provide you all of my details. Sometimes I understand people just go a little too far. I really need you to use your best judgment on this one.
At this point, I was pretty done being vaguely threatened and bullied over the phone. But before I could politely tell the woman on the phone to deal with it, my manager walks up to assess the situation. I immediately asked her if she'd like to talk to my store manager.
Oh, I'd love to.
Author's note, my manager is a 60-plus-year-old, tall, thin Wisconsin man that has worked enough retail years to have absolutely no patience for BS like this. He's not rude, but he won't take crap from anyone. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but we cannot help you. This is against policy, etc., etc. While he's talking to her, the woman who originally came in was standing to the side of the desk. Suddenly, she started to grasp her chest and moan. She didn't say anything to either of us or try to get our attention, but I noticed her out of the corner of my eye. The more my manager told her we could not do it, the louder she got.
Oh, my pacemaker! I don't even have my nitro pills! Oh, Lord!
Etc. Finally, she apparently had enough.
I need someone to call me an ambulance!
I tell my manager, who was still arguing on the phone. He immediately hands the phone to me and calls an EMS. I pick up the phone. Ma'am, we are calling your aunt an ambulance. I'm hanging up the phone. Before I could hang up, she responds,
What? Let me speak to my aunt.
I hand the phone to the woman.
Oh, Lord, it's a pacemaker, and I don't even have my nitro pills, oh no!
Etc., etc. She hangs up the phone and just kind of stands there before eventually starting to lean to one side. I then walked over to stabilize her as my manager is on the phone with EMS. The moment I get to her, she just starts to limp to one side or another alternatively. I gently held her by the shoulders to keep her uptight, and asked my manager to get her something to sit on. He brings something over, and I set her on it. As we waited, she continued to slump in the chair, but I made sure she stayed alert and conscious. As soon as the ambulance pulled into the parking lot, she suddenly became more alert.
Oh, there! I can feel my pacemaker, that's better!
The EMTs brought in a stretcher, loaded her up, and took her out. They sat in the parking lot for about 20 minutes before driving off with no lights, so I can assume she was okay. But I really won't know until I inevitably see her again. All in all, this was one of the most frustrating and ridiculous things I have ever had to do at my job. I was already thoroughly stressed from the holiday load, and this made the day even worse. All over about $50. I just hope she's okay from this event and that I can get a physical copy of the customer complaint they send in so I can frame it on my wall. Happy holiday season, everybody. It can only get worse. She came in the next day for her money, after the niece corrected the problem. My coworker that helped her told me she cursed me under her breath when she saw me. I watched her drive away. 3. I go to Indigo, a Canadian bookstore chain, very often to pick up some books to read, obviously. One day I was looking at books to get, and this older lady comes literally bolting at me. It almost seemed like she was going to tackle me. She takes a quick stop right in front of me, stares at me, then bolts and takes a sharp turn down a different aisle. I just looked at some random lady and we had a laugh, then continued browsing. I was in the crime section, which is just a small aisle. Then there's an entire corner with the fiction books in the back of the store, which is where the lady ran off toward. I went back there to look at different books. I walk around the corner and see this lady, and I am not joking when I say this, pulling out a freaking white cane like the ones that fold up that blind people use, and unfolds it and begins to knock a crap ton of books down off the top shelves. She did not look like she was intending to get a book, she looked like she was intending to make a mess. She then looks at me and noticed I saw her do this. Then this is where everything went downhill with her. These books fell over on me. Do you work here? Did you stock these shelves? No, I wish I worked here. I love this place. If you lie to me again, you won't see the end of me. I'll be here every day and night waiting for you so I can give you more hell for the awful job you did stocking the shelving. I mean, okay, I'm here like once a month at least, so if you want. But I mean it. I wish I worked here, but I don't. I'm tired of you stupid kids doing your job in a lazy manner, then not being held accountable for the problems that come with their horrible duties. Okay, I'm tired too. I'm a cashier at a different place, So if you want to pop by for proof I'm not lying, I work Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. I'm going to get you fired. You don't treat your elders like this. Then a worker hears me laughing dramatically at this old lady whose face is so red from me catching her do this. I see the worker and just start exposing her. Well, you should have thought about how you'd like to be treated before I caught you pulling the books onto yourself. Ma'am, this young lady was throwing books at me. She reached on the top shelf and threw them at me. The worker looked at me, then the shelf. I'm 5'3", okay? The top shelf is like 7 to 8 feet high. Worker literally laughed. I'll be back in a few seconds. She walked around the corner toward this little ledge they have that looks off to the rest of the store, so she was still in earshot of us. She laughed for maybe 20 minutes. I continued to look at books, while the lady called her husband to tell him how I'm going to be fired from both of my jobs, when I only have one. The worker comes back with her manager. Ma'am, you gotta get going. We have a camera right there, points at cameras, and we saw you pulling the books down. I don't know what you were trying to do, but... Oh my goodness! It's the manager? That girl over there, you need to fire her! She cries in fear of being exposed. She was actually shaking too. I could see her hands shaking so much. I think she thought she was going to be arrested or something, I don't know. No, she doesn't even work here, and she's dealt with you pretty well, clearly. I didn't hear any yelling coming from her, only you, so... Please, if you will. She left screaming and yelling, still going on about getting me fired from both of my jobs. Once again, I only have one. I knew something was up with that lady when she started to bolt toward me in the store. But yeah, I went back the next day hoping for a scream of the day, but she didn't show up. It makes me super sad, FYI. Didn't get a job at the store. Manager led me on. 4. Sorry, I just have to get this off my chest. I work at a fairly large bookstore, but the store is usually chill. However, today's been one of those days where I want to throw myself off a building and curse everyone with my blood sacrifice. 30 minutes before the store closes, a man comes in with a return, and I see right off the bat that it's not an item that we carry. It's 2 external battery packs, and I work at a bookstore. You can see where I'm going with this. Therefore, it's not an item that we can return. Customer gets pissy at the answer and screams that he has been in contact with customer service, and they directed him to come to our store to do a return. I tell him that as the manager on duty, I know we can't do the return because we can't process it. The item is literally not in our databases, and he'll have to take the item to the correct store. He continues to insist that customer service said to bring it in, so I end up calling them, because I want to get to the bottom of this. But customer service was just as confused. Customer service just reiterates what I said, and the man starts screaming at them instead, saying that he was told specifically to come to this store to do the return. By this point, I've lost all patience when suddenly, a new hire with no self-preservation skills comes along, and I can see in the angry, screaming man's eyes that he's imprinted. He immediately dismisses me, a tiny 5-foot lady, the manager on duty, and instantly hones in on the new hire. He doesn't acknowledge me at all, even though I'm speaking to him, and completely ignores me and only speaks to the new hire, 5'9" dude. He begins the whole thing again with new hire, saying that he has a return. New hire is understandably confused and tells him what everyone's already told him. Screaming man changes course after that and demands new hire give him a free item, something worth about $30, and then to just throw $20 in there as well for my troubles. As if we're making him some sort of care package. My ears did a double take at that. Did I hear just right? Am I in hell? I openly laugh in his face when I realize he's serious, which finally gets his attention. I tell him no. He looks at me like I'm insane and actually utters, completely seriously, these words out of his face hole. This is how customer service works. No, it's not, and you can get out of my store. He then points at new hire. WTF, I'm right here. I've told you multiple times that I'm the manager, and says, You're taking responsibility for this, and leaves. New hire is completely uncertain what to do. I tell him not to worry about it, and if he needs to take a breather to get off the floor, he's earned a break. Anyone else would have taken a break, but he's just genuinely a good guy, so he declines the offer and says he's good. Damn, son, what did we do to deserve you? I make him take one anyway. Of course, I'm not going to allow this screaming sphincter of a man to single out a new hire, so I've alerted all the other managers what's happened. As well, that new hire is not to be blamed in any way or form. If they want, they can blame it on me, and if they fire me, then
Dobby will be freed.
Oh, but hilariously, that's not the last we've heard of him. After the store's closed, the phone rings, and because I'm busy, one of the other associates picks up. They realize who it is immediately because they've witnessed the whole thing. It's Screaming Return Man. Of course, the store is closed, so therefore, we have no way to help him. Ah well, c'est la vie. Not that we could have helped him anyway if he can't differentiate between our store and the one he needs to go to. 5. So a little background. I used to work at a Source Electronics store in Montreal a few years ago, 2012. Next door was an EB Games GameStop location. My friends and I worked at these locations. One afternoon during the summer months, I decided to browse the PS3 games at the EB next door on my break. This scenario is completely ridiculous, but hilarious enough that I still recall it in vivid detail. I'll set the stage. My manager Dave, D for short, my friend at EB, Sam, S, and his manager, we'll call him Shitty Manager or SM, are in this day. Hey D, I'm going to go check out the new titles on PS3 before I go get lunch. Want a coffee?
Sure, man. Just be back in 30.
Yeah, no problem. I head out and hang a quick left toward the EB door. As I walk in, I see two older ladies, who we'll call L1 and L2, probably in their 60s or 70s, dealing with SM. I nod at him just to make sure he knows I'm there. He almost always has an attitude problem, so I like to make him aware that I'm a witness to his shenanigans. I hang out within earshot to make sure he isn't being a complete tool to these sweet old ladies.
I have some questions about games for kids aged 10 and up. And I want to ask about your promotions this week.
SM looks aggravated and notices that I'm keeping tabs on him. He turns and scowls in my direction.
Ask him. He knows whatever you're asking.
He growls and then walks away from his customers and takes a break in the store's office. I give S a look of disbelief. He just shrugs and continues dealing with his own customer. I turn to the ladies, who have been patiently waiting with looks of disbelief on their faces. I put on my best retail smile and attitude. Sorry about him, ladies, he's special. Now, I don't work here, but I'm a huge nerd, so ask me anything. I can probably help you. They start asking about games for kids. Skylanders was popular back then, and peripherals. I got them set up with a PS3 bundle, a spare controller, a box set of Skylanders on the top of the bundle. The promo gave them one for free on top, and got S to give them a full complement of additional assurance free of charge because of SM's shockingly belligerent attitude. Not only that, but S called his district manager, who came personally to give me a check for the commission. Explained further down. It turns out both these ladies are the grandmothers of the same grandchildren, so it made it easy as to why they were only buying one console. Sadly, this took up most of my lunch break, so I got D and myself our usual coffees and walked back into the source. Just in time to see SM, who eyed me angrily.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Huh?
What's this about you making a sale in his store?
I explained what happened.
You moron, you told him he could help them? That's your own fault, you tool. Whatever, I'm keeping the commission.
Like hell you are. S made this sale. Let me remind you that I can and will be a witness if you try to screw your employees.
Fuck you, you're just a nobody who never buys anything from us.
Oh, like that PS3 I didn't buy, or the 15 some odd games I left the store with over the last 4 months. Try again, asshole. Thankfully our store was dead. Usually EB was too. The 3 customers in this store were the only ones they had all day. This let me get away with slamming this guy's attitude into the ground.
Screw you, you're banned from my store. No one insults me.
I burst out laughing, and this confuses him. You realize I'm one of your best customers. Your DM will definitely make you overturn that stupid decision. We argue a bit, and he leaves. D and I stare at each other in amazement at how ballsy this guy is. The next day, a well-dressed guy walks into our store and asks for me by name. I present myself and put on my usual retail demeanor. Hi, how can I assist you today? The guy looks me over and assesses me. It made me kind of nervous, then introduces himself. I'm DM and the EB next door is part of my district. I'm a little taken aback. Why would the DM come to personally see me? He explains that the numbnuts next door, SM, has been angering customers for months, to the point that they're boycotting the store. He told me about the call from S and handed me a check for my well-earned commission, and said, "I wish we had more guys like you working in our stores." I intercepted the positive commentary from these customers who said you were really helpful and wished you were actually an employee at that store. I'm standing there in a daze, a little stunned and humbled. I tell him it was really nothing. I couldn't just leave them there when SM put me on the spot. I felt compelled to assist. Damn my retail habits. We have a good laugh, and DM tells D, "Don't let this one go, and we'll be reprimanding SM for his horrible conduct." This brought a smirk of victory to my face as I shook this guy's hand. That was easily the best 2 days of my retail career. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail, number 74. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. You know, that story's true. Those feelings of helping people in retail, they never leave you. You feel bad if you mess up a shelf in a store, so you kind of face up as you go. It's a sickness, really. Right, what's going on with me? Oh, yes. Now, I did mention I was going to purchase a new TV a couple of weeks back. I've decided to postpone it a little bit, because the TV I want, I've come to the conclusion that what they're charging for it just ain't worth it. So I'm going to wait till January, and hopefully they knock it down in price a bit in January. Maybe it'll be a bit more valuable then. It's my own fault, really. I'm so picky. There's so many things I require of a television. I need HDMI 2.1 port, so it's essentially just future-proofing. It's got to have a variable refresh rate, because it's going to be used for gaming and streaming. It's kind of the primary reason I'm getting it. But I have a 65-inch screen because, well, why not get the biggest one you can? I'm aware there are bigger ones, but, you know, in terms of what I need a TV to do versus screen size and budget, that's kind of where it falls. So I've picked out this one. I would like an OLED because they have really nice pictures, but there's issues with the OLED screens that for most people probably wouldn't be a problem, but because, like I say, I'm going to be using it for gaming and streaming a lot of the time, that there would be burn-in issues. I know there would be. Plus, they are super duper pooper expensive. So that kind of rules them out. So I've set my heart on this LG NanoCell. It's SM9010, I think that's the number for it. These numbers get a bit confusing, and they actually vary for the same television from country to country, but I think that's the one. But yeah, all things in time. Like I say, the TV I've currently got, it's taken a few knocks, but it works absolutely fine. There's a little bit of screen damage, but you only notice it when you're actually standing close to the screen. So it's not like it's not usable right now. So that will do me until I decide the one I've picked is a more reasonable price, which means knocking about... See, the thing is, I don't mind paying a bit extra if something's worth it, but I really think these companies just kind of... They're having a laugh, really, is what they're doing with the way some of these things are priced. It must be that Scottish blood of mine. You know, I'll pay for quality, but I won't pay prestige pricing. Anyway, enough grumbling from me. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.